Welcome to English Practice and Podcasts. My name is Anna.
And my name is Mark.
Today we are doing a deep dive into something that, well, causes a lot of anxiety for a lot of people.
A huge amount, yeah.
Navigating a job interview when English isn't your first language. We've pulled together advice from recruiters, from hiring managers, language coaches, really trying to find the best strategies for you.
Right, and our whole mission with this is to help you transform that anxiety. We hear it all the time, that fear of, I have the experience, I have the skills, but I'm just so afraid my English is going to fail me in the interview.
Exactly. And we want to turn that fear into, real confidence by giving you some very clear tools.
And I think the big insight, the thing that came up again and again in all our research, is that you don't need perfect English to get the job.
No, not at all. It's really about your attitude, your confidence, and how clearly you can communicate. The interviewer is judging your competence first, not your grammar.
That's it, exactly. If you can structure your thoughts and show that you're composed, the language part of it just becomes secondary. And that's the framework we want to give you today.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The first impression. We always hear about those first, 30 seconds. What are the big things that matter, regardless of language?
Well, the nonverbal stuff is huge. I mean,
Yeah.
a real smile,
Yeah.
direct eye contact, not staring, but engaged, and a firm handshake if it's an in-person meeting.
Those things signal professionalism right away.
They really do. And another thing that people sometimes overlook is timing.
Oh, this is a big one. What's the rule here?
You have to be early, but not too early. So no more than 15 minutes, but definitely no less than 5.
Right, because being late is just a disaster.
It should.
It suggests you're disorganized, maybe you'll miss deadlines.
It's a really bad look. And, there's a cultural element here, too. If you're interviewing with, say, a UK or US company, they tend to be a bit more reserved.
What does that mean in practice?
It means they really value answers that are concise, to the point. You don't need to fill every single second of silence. It's actually better to be clear and relevant than to just ramble on.
Okay, so you're in the room. What do you actually say first? We don't want to trip over a complex sentence right at the start.
Keep it super simple, professional. Something like, good morning, thank you for inviting me today, or even just, it's a pleasure to meet you, I really appreciate this opportunity.
Simple and polite. Now, this brings us to what might be the single biggest mistake a non-native speaker can make right at the beginning.
Yes, this is the golden rule. Under no circumstances should you start by apologizing for your English.
Never say, sorry, my English isn't very good.
Or, I'm a little nervous, so my English might be bad. Don't do it.
But it feels polite, right? Like you're just managing expectations. Why is it so damaging?
It's a psychological trap. You're basically shining a spotlight on what you think is your biggest weakness before they've even had a chance to see your strengths.
So you're telling them what to look for.
You're telling them to listen for your mistakes instead of listening to your experience.
Yeah.
You just set the bar incredibly low for yourself.
Okay, so what's the confident way to handle it if you feel you have to mention it at all?
Well, you frame it as a neutral fact that pivots to a strength.
Mm-hmm.
So you might say, English isn't my first language, but I'm a very clear and effective communicator at work.
I like that. It acknowledges it but immediately repositions it.
Exactly. Or, I'm comfortable communicating complex ideas with global teams. It shows you're aware, but not insecure.
So you've nailed the opening. Then comes that huge, wide-open question. Tell me about yourself.
The classic trap.
Right, and it's so easy to just start talking about your childhood or something.
It is not an invitation for your life story. What they're really asking is, can you quickly and concisely tell me why you are relevant for this specific job?
So we need a structure, a game plan. And our sources all point to a really effective 3-part answer.
Yes, this is a fantastic framework to keep you on track. It takes about 60 to 90 seconds. First, you start with who you are professionally.
Not where you went to university 20 years ago.
No, your current professional identity. For example, I'm a commercially aware senior business consultant.
Okay, part 1, what's next?
Part 2 is your experience and your major strengths. This is where you bring in the numbers. With over 10 years of experience and a proven track record of delivering projects on time and to budget.
And you should mention skills that were actually in the job description.
Oh, absolutely. Things like understanding of strategic planning or excellent IT skills. Show them you've done your homework.
Okay, so that's part 2. And the final part.
Part 3 is why you're here. You link your whole story directly to their company. And now I'm looking for an opportunity to contribute my skills to a company like yours, which is known for innovation.
That's such a powerful structure, but how do you stop it from sounding robotic, like you've just memorized a script?
That's a great question. The structure is your guide. It's not the exact words you have to say. You make it sound natural with your enthusiasm, with your eye contact,
Yeah.
and by avoiding really stiff formal language.
What kind of stiff language should we avoid?
Well, you want to avoid sounding like you're reading from an old textbook. So instead of, I am highly desirous of this opportunity,
Right. Nobody talks like that.
just say, I'm really excited about the chance to work here because
Uh,
it's about sounding like a professional, but a natural one.
okay, so moving on from the intro to talking about your actual experience, your past jobs, the language here needs to be about achievement.
Yes, exactly. You need to use strong action verbs. So instead of saying, my responsibilities included, which is very passive,
You say what you did.
you say, I managed a team. I designed a new system. I implemented a new process. It shows you were in control. You were the one making things happen.
And the thing that makes those achievements really powerful is adding numbers.
If you can't put a number on it, it's almost like it didn't happen. Quantification gives it weight.
So instead of, I helped increase sales,
You say, I increased monthly sales by 40%. Instead of, I trained some new people, you say, I supervised and trained 6 new employees. The detail makes it believable and impressive.
now this leads perfectly into those behavioral questions, the ones that start with, tell me about a time when they're designed to see how you think on your feet.
And for those, you absolutely need a structure. Which brings us to the STAR method.
Situation, task, action, result. This is the gold standard, especially for big international companies.
It really is. It forces you to tell a complete story with evidence. So S is for situation. You just briefly explain the context.
T is for task. What was your goal? What did you need to accomplish?
Then A is for action. This is the core of the story. What did you specifically do? Use those strong verbs we just talked about.
And then the last letter, R, for result. You mentioned this is where a lot of people fall short.
They do. They tell the whole story about what they did, and then they
Yeah.
just stop. The result is the whole point.
You have to say what happened because of your actions.
Right. And quantify it if you can. The result was that we reduced project time by 3 weeks. And then, here's a pro tip, add what you learned. And I learned how important clear communication is. It shows you're reflective.
And just quickly, what if you have a career gap or you're changing fields? How do you talk about that?
Just be simple and honest. I'm transitioning into this field after getting my certification, or my previous position was eliminated during a company restructuring. It's factual, no apology needed.
Okay, let's talk about the self-assessment part. First, the strengths question. This is your chance to really sell yourself.
It is. The strategy here is to pick 2 strengths that are super relevant to the job and then back them up with a mini example.
So don't just say, I'm a good communicator.
No, that's too generic. Link it to the job. You could say, one of my key strengths is time management. In my last role, I was juggling 5 major projects, and I used a specific tool to make sure every single one was delivered on schedule.
That's much more powerful. Okay, now for the one everyone dreads. What are your weaknesses?
Right, it feels like a trap, but it's usually not. It's a test of self-awareness.
So how do you answer it without shooting yourself in the foot?
You choose a real but safe weakness, and you frame it positively, showing that you're already working on it.
What's a safe weakness?
A safe one is something that doesn't damage your ability to do the core functions of the job. Often it's something rooted in being, a bit too committed.
Like the classic, I'm a perfectionist answer.
Exactly. But that one has become such a cliche. Interviewers kind of roll their eyes at it now.
I was going to say, everyone uses that one, so what's a better alternative?
You could talk about something like delegation. I used to struggle with delegating tasks because I wanted to ensure they were done perfectly. But I've learned that it's much more effective to trust my team and empower them.
Ah, so you're turning the weakness into a story about your growth as a leader?
Precisely. It shows you're self-aware and you're actively improving. The main thing is to never, ever say something like, I'm lazy or I'm always late.
That's just career suicide.
Total career suicide.
Okay, let's move on to some other common questions. Why do you want to work here? What are they looking for?
They want to see that you've done your research. Don't say, I need a job. Talk about their company culture, their values, a recent project they did. I'm really drawn to your company's focus on sustainability, and I want to be a part of that.
And what about where do you see yourself in 5 years?
You want to sound ambitious but loyal? So your answer should be about growing with them. Something like, I'm hoping to have mastered this role and perhaps be taking on more senior responsibilities within this team.
Right, okay. The big one. Salary. When do you bring it up?
You don't. That's the ironclad rule. Let them bring it up first. You have way more negotiating power once they've already decided they want to hire you.
But what if they do ask you, maybe early in the process, what are your salary expectations?
You have a couple of options. The best one is to give a range, not a single number. And you anchor that range in research. Based on my research for this type of role in this city, my salary range is between X and Y.
And if you really don't want to give a number, is there a way to dodge the question?
You can try to politely flip it back to them.
Yeah.
You could say, "That's a great question. It would be helpful if you could share the salary band that's been budgeted for this role."
That's a good move.
Or you can delay by saying you need more information about the total compensation package, like bonuses and benefits, before you can give a precise number.
Smart. Okay, last question from them usually. Do you have any questions for us?
And the answer must always be yes.
Always.
If you say no, it signals that you're not that interested. You're not curious. You need to have 2 or 3 thoughtful questions prepared.
And what makes a question thoughtful?
Don't ask about salary or vacation time. Ask about the role, the team, or success. Questions like, what does a typical day look like in this position? Or how do you measure success for the person in this role? Or a great one is, what are the next steps in the process?
That's a great list. So as we're wrapping up, let's talk about final preparation. Practice is obviously key.
It's everything. And you have to practice your answers out loud, not just in your head. Your mouth actually needs to get used to forming the words.
And don't memorize a script word for word.
No, use bullet points.
Yeah.
Key ideas. That way you can be flexible. If you memorize a script and they interrupt you, you can get completely thrown off.
Let's talk about delivery. What about pacing?
Speak slowly. Speak clearly. When we're nervous, we tend to speed up. So just make a conscious effort to slow down. Don't worry about your accent. Focus on being understood.
What's the right mindset to have walking into that interview?
Remember that they want you to succeed. They have a problem, an open position.
Yeah.
And you might be the solution. It's a partnership, not an interrogation.
That's a great way to frame it. And another crucial point of etiquette, never criticize a former employer.
Never, ever, even if you had a terrible experience.
Why is that so important?
Because if you start bad-mouthing your last boss, the interviewer is just thinking, well, if we hire you and it doesn't work out, you're going to be bad-mouthing us next. It just makes you look negative and unprofessional.
Yeah. Okay, so the interview is over, you're getting up to leave. How do you end it on a high note?
Finish strong, firm handshake again, good eye contact, and say something enthusiastic. This sounds like a fantastic opportunity, or I really enjoyed our conversation and I look forward to hearing about the next steps.
So the process isn't really over when you walk out the door.
Not at all. In fact, one of the most important steps is still to come. Following up is the #1 commandment if you really want that job.
So to recap this whole deep dive, it's really about having confidence and having a structure. The 3-part introduction, using the STAR method. Those things are more important than perfect grammar.
It's all about taking control of the narrative. You're there to sell your skills as a solution to their problem. And you use this structured language to deliver that message, whether you're talking about your strengths or even framing a weakness.
So we'll leave our listeners with one final thought. We just mentioned that following up is the #1 commandment. Why is that one little step so incredibly important after the interview is already done?
Because the hiring process doesn't stop when you leave the room. Sending a polite, professional thank you email within 24 hours does so many things. It shows you're organized, you're persistent, and you're genuinely interested.
And it gives you another chance to make your case.
Exactly. You can subtly mention 1 or 2 of your key strengths again that are relevant to the role. Honestly, research shows that simple act can dramatically increase your chances.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to give yourself an edge over the other candidates.
It's a powerful final move. This has been incredibly helpful. Thank you for walking us through all of that.
My absolute pleasure.
We pull apart complex source material and deliver the strategic insights you need to get ahead. And today, we are diving into a situation that is, just incredibly high stakes and high stress for so many people.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge one.
Acing the job interview, but specifically when English isn't your first language. We're talking to all of you out there who are, brilliant, experienced professionals. You might be a stellar engineer, a top-tier operations manager. You've got the skills, the experience is there, but then the moment that interviewer starts talking, this this fear about your English just takes over. It holds you back.
And that anxiety is such a massive barrier.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's entirely unnecessary. Let's just be really clear about this right from the start.
Okay.
You do not need perfect linguistic, perfection to get a great job in an English-speaking country.
Mhm.
The hiring manager is not sitting there grading your grammar.
Exactly. Our listener, let's call her Elena. She's a veteran operations manager applying for a big role in Chicago. She shared her source material with us, and her biggest fear wasn't about explaining logistics. She knows that inside and out. It was about finding the right words in the right way under all that pressure.
And that is our mission today. We're going to give you a tactical shortcut. We're going to unpack the exact phrases, the exact structures that immediately project professionalism
Yeah.
and confidence, regardless of where you feel your fluency level is.
Right.
We're basically trading that nervousness you get from improvising for the calm that comes from being really, really well prepared.
Let's start right at the beginning then. Elena walks into that Zoom meeting, or maybe it's a real office. What is that hiring manager actually registering in, say, the first minute?
It's surprisingly simple, and it is fundamentally not your grammar.
Not grammar. So what is it?
It's your confidence,
Yeah.
your attitude, and clarity. That's it. I mean, think about it. A native English speaker who sort of mumbles and can't structure a thought, they sound incompetent.
Mm.
But someone speaking simple, direct English, but they're calm, they have conviction, that person sounds incredibly professional. Simple language delivered with confidence wins every single time.
That is such a critical piece of insight. So if the goal is calm conviction, what are the best opening lines? Something you can rehearse, that's short, professional, and just gets you over that initial hurdle.
Keep it warm, keep it polite, and keep it brief. You want to get the most professional mileage out of the fewest words possible. Something like, "Good morning. Thank you for inviting me today."
Simple.
Or, "It's a pleasure to meet you. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you." If you say that slowly, clearly, you've already won the first 30 seconds.
Okay, so now for the crucial part. What is the one thing you can say that just immediately torpedoes that first impression? What should we never, ever say?
Never, and I mean never, draw negative attention to your language skills. It is the single most common mistake people make.
So no self-deprecation.
None. No phrases like, "Sorry, my English is bad," or "Oh, I'm very nervous," or "I don't speak English well." All that does is immediately signal to the interviewer to lower their expectations of you.
But wait, let me push back on that for a second. If Elena knows that she gets flustered under pressure, wouldn't it be honest to just acknowledge the language barrier? Doesn't that sort of buy her some goodwill?
That's a fair question, but strategically the answer is no. You're basically volunteering a flaw that the interviewer might not have even noticed yet.
Ah, okay.
They want to hire an asset.
Yeah.
Right. And when you apologize for your main tool of communication, you force them to focus on a negative. Now, if you feel you absolutely must mention it, you have to rephrase it to reinforce your competence immediately after.
Okay, so what's the confident, professional way to do that? How do you reframe it?
You acknowledge the reality, but you pivot straight to your value. Use a structure like this. English is not my first language, but I communicate effectively and clearly with my colleagues at work.
Ah, I see.
That statement takes a perceived weakness and immediately turns it into a demonstrated strength.
Okay, so we've nailed that first impression. Now let's move to I guess the centerpiece of the whole interview. Tell me about yourself. This is the question that stresses Elena out, that stresses everyone out the most.
It's stressful because it's so open-ended, it's vague, and the biggest mistake people make is thinking it's an invitation to tell their life story.
Right, their biography.
Yeah. The interviewer does not want to know where you grew up or what your hobbies were in university.
Yeah.
What they're actually asking is, why are you here? And how are you professionally relevant to this job right now?
That's the real question behind the question. They're busy, they have a stack of candidates, they need information that's digestible and fast.
Exactly. Their cognitive load is high. So your job is to reduce that load by giving them a perfectly structured answer. We recommend a tight, professional, three-part structure.
Okay.
We call it the present, past, future framework.
Present, past, future. Got it.
Part 1. Who you are professionally, the present. Start right now.
Right.
So for Lena, she would say, "I am an operations manager."
Simple, direct. Title established. Okay, what's part 2?
Part 2, your quantifiable experience. The past, you immediately pivot to results, to numbers. So she'd say, I am an operations manager with 9 years of experience leading teams of up to 40 people. I focus on process efficiency and cost reduction. And in my last role, I reduced fulfillment errors by 18%.
Wow. Okay, that is a world away from just, I worked in a warehouse. You're giving them actual data points.
Precisely. We're talking about achievement, not just activity. And then finally, part 3, why you're here, the future. You connect all that past success directly to their opportunity. Elena would finish with, I am now looking for an opportunity to apply this optimization experience to a larger supply chain like yours and contribute immediately to your growth targets.
That three-part structure, present, past, future, it's like a shield against rambling. It just keeps every single word focused on professional value. So let's move on to the really content-heavy part of the interview, describing your past jobs, your responsibilities. Alina knows exactly what she did, but, she struggles to find that powerful, accurate English to explain it.
The secret here is to realize that HR software and hiring managers, they all rely on specific keywords. You have to use their language. You need to leverage the past tense and strong action verbs.
Forget the vague descriptions.
Exactly. Your goal is to use verbs that translate directly into things they're looking for.
Okay, give us the toolkit. What are some of those power verbs?
You want to lean on words that imply leadership and measurable results. So I managed, I developed, I implemented, I analyzed, or I was responsible for. You start your sentences with these.
Mm-hmm.
So compare this. I was responsible for making sure that people counted the inventory every week. It's just not very efficient.
Right, it's a bit clunky.
The powerful professional version is, I tracked and documented weekly inventory metrics, which resulted in better forecasting. See? That second sentence is instantly clear, professional, and dense with value.
That efficiency is so key. It really shows you respect the interviewer's time. Now, what if you're changing careers? Say you're transitioning from manufacturing into tech. How do you connect those dots for them?
This is a great question. Employers actually value honesty here, but it has to be framed strategically. You don't focus on the gap. You have to focus on the bridge. Use specific phrases that frame the transition positively.
Like what?
You can say, I'm actively transitioning into this field, or I recently completed specific training to shift my focus. But the most critical phrase, especially for professionals, is highlighting shared skills. I have transferable skills.
Okay, can you give an example of that? How does Elena, our operations manager, transfer process optimization from a factory floor to a tech project management role?
Absolutely. So you don't say, I optimize the assembly line. Instead, you rephrase that core skill. You'd say, my background in operations taught me how to optimize complex processes and manage tight timelines, which directly transfers to project management efficiency in this tech environment.
Ah, so you're translating your achievement into their language.
You're speaking your language, exactly.
All right, time for the dread-inducing duo. Strengths and weaknesses. Let's start with strengths. How do we, sell ourselves without sounding like we're boasting?
Look, this is not the time for cultural modesty. This is a job interview. You are actively selling a product, and that product is your expertise. The strategy isn't just to name a strength, but to instantly prove it with a short, relevant example.
Okay.
So pick 2 core strengths. If you say, my strength is attention to detail, you have to follow it up. For example, one of my greatest strengths is detailed communication. For instance, I create clear, standardized task sheets before launching any project to ensure everyone understands their role and timelines precisely.
That proof point is the professional power-up.
It is.
Okay, let's turn to the weakness question. It really does feel like a psychological trap, like it's designed to make you fail.
It feels that way, but it is not a trap, I promise. It's actually an assessment of your self-awareness and your sense of accountability.
Yeah.
If you claim you have no weaknesses, you just demonstrate a complete lack of self-awareness. So the strategy is to choose a weakness that is real but safe. And this is the critical part 1 that shows you are actively working to improve it.
So you're kind of admitting the car needed a repair, but you're showing them you've already started the work.
That's a perfect analogy. You've already started installing a stronger part.
Give us a safe example of a weakness that shows that kind of growth.
A classic one is control, or delegation, you could say. I used to struggle with delegating tasks because I felt the need to personally oversee every detail. However, I've been actively learning to build trust with my team and implement better status reporting, which allows me to focus on strategic oversight rather than micromanagement.
And what are the fatal flaws? The absolute red flags you should never, ever mention.
Never choose anything that touches on poor work ethic, dishonesty, or an inability to work with people. So never say, I struggle with being on time, or I'm prone to procrastination.
Yeah, or I don't like working in teams.
Exactly. Or I prefer to work completely alone and dislike team meetings. Those basically show you just don't fit into a modern professional workplace.
Okay, let's do a quick rundown of some other standard questions that always seem to pop up. First, why do you want to work here?
Right. The big mistake here is making the answer about you, because I need a better salary or it's closer to my house.
Hmm.
Your answer has to pivot to their company, their mission, their values, their structure. Interviewers want to feel like you chose them, not just that you need any job. So a targeted answer sounds like, I've been following your commitment to sustainable logistics, and I appreciate your company culture. I see clear long-term opportunities here to align my expertise with your growth targets.
I like that. Okay, next up, the future gazing question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Keep this realistic and company focused. You want to avoid being super specific about a future job title. Sometimes that can make you sound like you're already looking for the next thing.
Right, like this job is just a stepping stone.
Exactly. Your answer should convey loyalty and ambition within their system. A strong reply is something like, I want to grow professionally in this role and continually take on more responsibility, becoming a key contributor to the team's long-term success. I expect to be managing larger projects and mentoring new colleagues.
And finally, the big closing question, the one that really tells the interviewer how engaged you are. Do you have any questions for us?
The answer must always, always be yes.
Always.
Asking questions shows you've moved from being passively interviewed to actively assessing them. This is where you really demonstrate your critical thinking.
So what are, say, 3 strategically sharp questions that can shift that dynamic, that make you look like you're vetting them as seriously as they're vetting you?
Okay, first, ask about the reality of the work. What does success look like in this role 6 months from now, specifically in terms of measurable achievements?
Oh, that's good.
Second, ask about the team and the culture. Could you describe the leadership style of the manager I would be reporting to? And how does the team typically collaborate?
Mm.
And third, ask about the process. It shows you respect their time. What are the next steps, and what is the anticipated timeline for a final decision? These show you're serious about performance, fit, and organization.
This has been so incredibly focused on using structure as a tool for confidence. Before we close out, what are the 4 non-negotiable final tips for Elena and everyone listening who's preparing this week?
Number one, you must practice your structured answers out loud.
Out loud.
Yes, reading them silently in your head only prepares you for written test. You have to train your mouth and your ear to say and hear the words.
Hmm.
Number two, prepare those answers in advance. That structure eliminates the need to do that painful on-the-spot improvisation. Number three, when the nerves hit, and they will, make a conscious physical effort to speak more slowly.
Mm.
Speaking slowly increases clarity, it gives you time to find the right word, and it fights that natural urge to rush and mumble.
And the final, maybe the most essential piece of advice.
Do not apologize for your accent.
Yeah.
An accent is simply evidence that you speak more than one language. That's it. It is not an impediment to professional clarity. We said it before, but it's so important it bears repeating. Your accent is not the problem. A lack of structure and confidence is the problem.
That shift in perspective is just everything. The source material really emphasizes this idea that interviewers are generally motivated to see you succeed. They aren't sitting there waiting for you to make a mistake. They're actually partners in this process, looking for the right person for their team.
You should go into that room, virtual or physical, and view the interviewer as a partner who's trying to solve a problem, their staffing need, with you. Your preparedness shows you respect their time, and that respect translates instantly into confidence.
So this deep dive has really provided the exact structures you need to communicate your high-level skills, even when your English is still developing. Remember what we said. Confidence comes from structure, from that 3-part answer, from those powerful action verbs. If you apply these specific tools, you completely remove the linguistic guesswork from the equation.
It's all about being deliberate with every single word you choose.
So if we accept this really powerful premise that the interviewer sees themselves as a partner, that they are actively looking for reasons to hire you, what specific immediate behavioral evidence should you look for during the actual interview that confirms this partnership is real? Does the interviewer try to help you phrase a complex thought? Do they circle back to a positive point you made earlier? That's the meta strategy to observe as you go through the process.
Good luck with your preparation. And remember, You are qualified.